I think, look, we're at 3.5 trillion already. I don't think we have to worry about getting to 5 trillion. I think the goal, honestly, should be now $10 trillion economy. I think $10 trillion economy as the size of India's national income is not very far away. And I think there are three triggers right in front of us, taking us towards becoming a $10 trillion economy. Firstly, everybody can see UPI and the power of UPI, right? UPI volumes are doubling every 7 months or so. India is doing 7 billion UPI transactions a month, 52% of national income on UPI. UPI is driving tax collections. It's reducing cost of doing business for small businesses. It will reduce the cost of capital for small businesses because banks are getting a data trail from SMEs. I think the overall India stack, GST, UPI, Aadhaar, ONDC, I think the digital economy is giving India unique competitive advantages, which will drive a drop in cost of capital and rise in economic growth over the next 10 years. That's the first leg of India's $10 trillion story. The second leg of India's $10 trillion story really is China scoring own goal after own goal over the last 4 years. Everything we are hearing from our friends in China, from our friends in Hong Kong, from friends in America who invest in China, suggests China is a country in free fall. It's a country with huge civil unrest. People are discontented, workers are discontented. Prominent promoters like Jack Ma have been stripped of their wealth. Jack Ma lives in Tokyo now. The Chinese business elite is trying to get out of the country. The Chinese intelligentsia is getting out of the country. As China disintegrates over the next 4 or 5 years, there will be some geopolitical issues. I think those are obvious. It is but obvious that China will create geopolitical issues. But the space that it is creating for India is colossal. In industries like making smartphones, medical devices, the entire ecosystem of electronics, I think we will get around $1 trillion of economic opportunity, substituting for what China is vacating as the Chinese economy disintegrates over the next 5 years or so. I think this will be the fastest deindustrialization in human history. And the third leg of India's development is the rise of Indian women. If you look at the statistics coming from the government, it is startling. At every level of the education system, from kindergarten through to university, more women are studying than men. The pass rates for women are far higher than men. And if you go and meet employers from factories to IT services companies to the financial system, the preferred workers are increasingly women. As Indian women rise, remember India's female labor force participation ratio is a pathetic 20%. We are lower than Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia. As Indian women rise, not only will that give the economy a boost, I suspect a decade hence, the bulk of economic decision making will be in the hands of Indian women. And therefore, if I was you, I'll be looking for companies which are a play on women making decisions. We have a few of them in our portfolios in Marcellus. You might want to look for a few more. I think those are the three legs to India's $10 trillion story. It's not very far away. I think since I said $10 trillion, let me expand on that. India's household financial wealth is very modest. I reckon it's around $1 trillion. But India's overall household balance sheet, all the households, all of the assets added up, I reckon is closer to 10 trillion, which means 95% of household wealth is in physical assets. This is financializing. If you look at data from the RBI, from SEBI, from IRDA, roughly 1% a year we are toggling from physical to financial. That means $100 billion a year is toggling from physical to financial. This in turn means $1 trillion of incremental flows into the financial system. However, I'm afraid the bulk of this is going to end up in alternative assets. I think as the regulator attacks TERs again and again over the next 10 years, as ETFs and index funds become more relevant, as the simplified tax code also makes life insurance a little less relevant for the middle class, I think the bulk of India's financialization will happen through PMS and AIFs. If you add up PMS and AIF as a corpus, we are already at 5 lakh crores. I reckon this number has grown 10x in the last 10 years. I think in the next 10 years, PMS and AIF does another 10x. And the MFD distributors will quite seamlessly toggle from doing mutual funds to doing PMS and AIF and earn the sorts of fees and income that they've earned over the last 10 years. It's merely a question of repositioning for their mutual fund distributors. It's a question of repositioning their businesses away from selling mutual funds towards selling PMS and AIF. The transition product The transition product, I reckon, would be wealth baskets, where fund managers will design portfolios for clients on an advisory basis. These portfolios will be pulled into clients' demat accounts. The stockbroking industry will happily champion this, because this is a way for them to bring in cash equities income. So I think the obvious skill set everybody talks about, which I think Indians possess in abundance, is selling. Right? It's been said that some people in Marcellus also have selling skills. Selling skills, I don't think are in shortage. We're an enterprising, driven country. The bit which I think is missing in our country is the ability to understand how to manage clients' wealth in a sensible way, rather than selling them high commission products. Right? So if a client is 30 years old, how do you help him or her plan their wealth journey over the next 30 years? How do you help them identify their savings goals and give them a portfolio which helps them meet their goals? We've written a book on this called Coffee Can Investing. The book thankfully has sold well, but I think this skill set, the ability to meet a person, whether that person is a middle manager in an MNC company, or a junior manager in a small manufacturing unit, or someone starting out in life in TCS or Infosys, the ability to meet an individual, assess their means, assess their needs, and create a plan accordingly is, I think, a sorely missing skill in our country. That's the bit I think we need some skill gap fulfillment there. Hopefully, the NISM exams and the efforts from AMFI, from APME, from the regulator will help address the skill gap.